Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the gods, peace to the earths, and all of the righteous families of the planet. It's your big brother Fahiym back once again with another presentation bill for the family. Today I want to do a subject that, kind of like one of my favorite subjects. I'm usually, for the most part, I find myself teaching on this a lot for the most part. But I want to deal with health and nutrition today for the most part. And, how the 5%ers are supposed to eat. What is the proper dietary practice of a 5%er? You know what I'm saying? And it's basically like what I want to do is basically a book review, if you will. I want to start kind of incorporating some of these book reviews for the family as well, because as I say all the time, this is a teacher-student channel, and one of my goals, on this channel is my entire book of life. I just want to put it out there, you know what I'm saying? The lessons along with the manifestations, you know what I'm saying? My books, my entire library if I can. I want to just start little by little. Every time I build, I want to, touch on something or whatever as far as, from out of the degrees. But How to Eat to Live is the book that, most of the information in this presentation is going to be coming from. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did this book in 1967. And a lot of what the messenger was teaching in this book during the 60s, he was almost like the laughing stock of the world, telling people to eat one meal a day and, how to fast, his way of fasting and stuff like that. People didn't understand it. But a lot of people now today are starting to look at what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said concerning health and nutrition and diet. And they're not laughing at it so much no more. I would say within this last 5 to 7 years, there's been this advent now of fasting, low carb diets, intermittent fasting. There's been these things now that have been popping up. And I'm seeing a lot of celebrities and a lot of people talking about they eating one meal a day and, and I'm like, it's just, what I'm saying? So people are now beginning to bear witness to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught concerning, our dietary practice. Today I want to do a book review on a book. It's actually 2 books, actually. This brother Kevin Muhammad, one of our beautiful brothers, beloved brothers from the Nation of Islam. I don't know if the family could see that, but this is brother Kevin Muhammad, but his book, FAQ, How to Eat to Live. This right here, family, out of all my books that I've ever studied over the last 20 years dealing with, health, nutrition, I would have to tell you that this book is like one of my best books. This little book that the brother did, it's 2 books, but he has book 1 and book 2, just as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has book 1 and book 2. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, How to Eat to Live, as we know, the messenger wrote most of his books on a 7th grade reading level. 7th, 8th grade reading level, for the most part. This book is not written on no 7th or 8th grade reading level. This is more like college level. You're going to need a dictionary or a thesaurus or, some sort of medical, dictionary, if you will, to help you to decipher a lot of what the brother's talking about here, because he's talking about a lot of, chemical hormones in the body, a lot of, medical terms and technical names, and, he really goes in, and it's more like on a college level, this book. You know what I'm saying? So definitely I would, exhort the family to get this book by the brother and read this book. To the 5%ers, this is almost like a plus degree, this book. Because a plus degree basically is like defined as something that the messenger may have said, that the authors may have said, Master Fard Muhammad or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they may have said it, but didn't really go all into the science of it. But a plus degree is something that you can delve in. This brother delved in. He went in deep. He went in deep. That's all I can say. He went very deep into the science of what the messenger was saying. The messenger talked about eating 1 meal a day. He broke that down because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't mention the circadian rhythmic cycle that the human body is aligned in formulated to follow. This, according to the Earth rotation or revolution around our sun, this puts every species, not just the human being, but every species on a internal biological clock. In the human beings, it's located in the I think it's the hypothalamus gland in the human being. But this biological clock is what the messenger didn't speak of, but he tells us to eat 1 meal a day, preferably between 4 and 6 p.m. He didn't delve into why between 4 and 6 p.m. But again, this brother goes into the chemical makeup of a human being. And he talks about the cortisol levels and our serotonin levels in the brain and how, salt levels, sodium levels, and different levels are lowered by doing this. But at that time of the day between 4 and 6 p.m. is when now the body is calling or should be calling for that physical nourishment that you should give it once every 24 hours. So this book is definitely a book that I would, encourage, the brothers out there that are studying the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether you're 5%ers on the streets or whether you're, FOI in the mosque, active in the mosque. This book is definitely, a book that you want to read. In the lessons, in the 1 to 36, the 10th degree or the 10th question, because the devil taught him to eat the wrong foods. In my breakdowns, I say, we were taught to eat the wrong foods by the devil physically, mentally, and spiritually. So on all 3 levels, the white man has attacked African culture. He's attacked black culture on all 3 levels and taught us. It was a period of time that this had to be inculcated to us so that it would sink in, and now we're programmed now to just, the white man don't even have to be there. We're going to go to the slaughterhouse and we're going to get us some chitlins and we're going to get us some fat back, hog maw, pig feet, whatever the case may be. If you West Indian or whatever, you're going to get you some jerk pork. You're going to get you some, it's all across the board. All across the board, we've been taught by the white man or the slave master how to eat the improper foods on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and 2, that the white race is a natural race of savages. They have always been known to eat the wrong foods, even while living in the cave sides of Europe. After they emerged from the cave sides, they continued this pattern of savage and unhealthy eating. Since we were on the plantation with the slave master and had to depend on him to feed us, we ate what he ate. If the white man ate pork, he gave us the scraps from the worst part of the pig, which in reality, there's really no worst part or whatever. Just, if you want to be technical, pork is really no good, period. Because we know pork in the flesh of the pig contains a worm, the trichina worm, which is all throughout his body, in his flesh, it resides. And most black people, in the South think that if this meat is roasted or cooked thoroughly, that this worm can be killed or whatever, but it doesn't kill the worm. Science proves that the worm only lies dormant from the heat, but as you consume the food now, when it goes into your body, those worms, they travel straight to one place they trying to get to, and that's to the spinal cord area. And they start going up that spine until they reach the brain, in the cerebral area of the brain. And then at that point, different rheumatisms and ailments and sicknesses begin to weigh heavily on the human body. So now when a person is in their 70s or 80s, senility and other sicknesses or mental, shortcomings happen now, and a person, their mind is gone, their health is gone, just from over a course of 30, 40 years of just consuming the wrong foods. This is a process that takes some time. A lot of people would look and be like, oh, well, yeah, my grandmom's, she ate pork, and she lived to be 100. She lived to be like 90-something, almost 100. We think that that's long life. Look how feeble and small our minds have become to think that 100 years old is a long life. When you got people in the Bible, those patriarchs lived to be 700, 800, 900 years old and bore children at 200, 300 years old. That's not no far-fetched thing. It's not fantastic foolishness. It's an actual fact. Every ancient civilization, and I believe the brother mentioned that, I believe it was in this book, book 2, where he says on record, every civilization in the past has had their calendars at a 365-day year. All ancient nations have had this. So people would be like, oh, well, they lived to be 100, but see, they were on a whole different calendar. See, they was, 100 to them, they probably was only like 50 or 60, but, it's... No. Stop it. If these people lived to be 600, 700, 800 years old, you mean to tell me that they lived to be that long on this beautiful green planet that we live on and never attained the science of geometry and longitude, latitude, like they how long a solar day is, like that doesn't even make any damn sense to even suggest something like that. These people were living that long but were still ignorant to a lot of things. Doesn't even make sense. So their calendar was a 365-day calendar, and they lived an extremely long life by eating the proper foods from the earth. Again, the white man on the plantation, because he was our master, slave master, hey, whatever we saw him do, we thought was golden. Whatever he did was good. So if he eating pork, damn it, we gonna eat it too. But the white man would eat like, I guess you could say the better part. When, like I said, technically there is no better or worse part of the pig because it all has worms in it. It's all poisonous. But he would give us the worst parts, which would be the tripe or the intestines, of the pig. You know what I'm saying? What people call it, chitterlings or chitlins, they say, Or he would give us the feet of the pig, which is another terrible part of the pig that you can eat. You know, as a child growing up, my mother is from Georgia. My mother was a country girl. I grew up eating pig feet. And that was one of my favorite dishes. You know what I'm saying? I would get the vinegar and put it on there and put the hot sauce on that joint and tear it up. Go to town. But I used to always wonder, even back then when I ate pig feet, you know, like, why is it so sticky? Why is pig feet so sticky? You ever wondered that to the people out there who may be watching that still eat pork and stuff like that, and even worse, pig feet? Do you know why it's sticky like that? You ever did the knowledge to that? You know, in the Bible, in the book of Leviticus, the book of law, which teaches the proper dietary law to the Yahudi people, to the Jewish people, it tells you in the book of Leviticus that you should not even eat from the animal with the split hoof. It's talking about the pig for the most part. And it says you shouldn't even touch its carcass. You shouldn't eat it, nor should you even touch the carcass of this animal, because it's a filthy and divinely prohibited animal. But through that hoof is where a lot of the waste, because see, the pig doesn't have pores like other animals have pores, and as we humans have all over our body pores, so when we sweat, you know, as dogs or any other animal can pant and sweat and stuff to release these toxins, pigs can't do that. So the only area of the body where these toxins are released from is through that hoof. So the slave master purposely gave us the pig feet. Here, eat that, nigga. And he gave us the pig feet. And he gave us the intestines of the hog to eat. You know, and we made it a delicacy. You know, that's just black people. You know, we tore it up, you know. The messenger told us that the pig was grafted from a rat, cat, and a dog. He said that it is 99.9% poison in how to eat to live. It is a divinely prohibited flesh in both Bible and the Quran. We're taught that Musa or Moses, when going up into the caves and hillsides of Europe, Musa or Moses and some of those scientists back during that time, this is where the pig actually comes from during that time. The pig's history, if you date the swine, it doesn't go back no more than 7,000 years. Because during that time, the scientists actually grafted the pig and they used it as a human sewer, if you will. A human garbage disposal. Not a human, pardon self, but an animal that was a garbage disposal. You know what I'm saying? Not a human garbage disposal, but an animal that was a garbage disposal. That's basically what the pig was. Musa or Moses had the pigs precede him as he went up into the caves and hillsides of Europe to eat away a lot of the filth and rubbish and the trash and stuff that the Europeans had just scattered about the place. Feces, dead people. The white man didn't know how to bury his dead. You know, they didn't know how to properly cook their foods. As today, the white man still doesn't properly know how to cook his food. He cooks food with blood running all down the sides of his mouth and stuff. You know, you go to these restaurants, these high upscale restaurants, and you know, you get a steak. You see white people in there, give me it rare, you know, medium rare or just rare, you know, almost damn near with blood coming out of it. And they think that this is the proper way to eat. They were never taught the proper way in which to eat that until Musa or Moses went up into the caves and hillsides to civilize them. So Musa or Moses allowed the pigs to go and run around and eat all of the trash and rubbish so he can be able to get to them. This is the history of the European. The messenger says that what we call, as black people, what we call soul food, all of it is no good. All of it is no good for us. So Do the 5%ers have a dietary practice? Sure we do. The father and the elders, all of them. The father, from the father to Habika or Brother Rasul, Abu Shahid, Old Man Justice, all of the elders tell us this book that the messenger put out, How to Eat to Live, you need to get that book and you need to read it in its entirety. Study that book. And the father said all of its dietary practices, you should be extracting something from that. The father told us this out of his own mouth in 1968 or in 69, prior to him departing from us. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad published How to Eat to Live in 1967. Right after the father and the elders read it and seen it and read it, immediately they told us, you need to follow this dietary practice. But today, most 5%ers, they just don't eat pork. But many of them eat, collard greens, sweet potato pies or sweet potatoes. They eating black-eyed peas. They eating navy beans, not navy beans, but butter beans and lima beans and, fish weighing over 50 and 60 pounds and, tunas and they eating catfish and they eating shrimps and lobsters and all of these foods, that are emphatically now cipher for the human being to be consuming, Collard greens, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in How to Eat to Live, he said collard greens is almost like leather going through the digestive tract, just wearing and tearing it out. Just wearing it, sweet potatoes. If you have a farm, that's for farm animals. They have a different digestive tract than the human being has. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad puts most of the emphasis on nuts. And he says nuts are not for human consumption. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad rates nuts as high on a level as pork.